Hi, my name is Pat, and I'm with a company called Rootstock Farms. I say that very carefully because it has nothing to do with citrus trees. Nobody quite understands it, but it's a company that's been around for 40 years, and one of the owners is only 40. So he grew up in the business, obviously. So I represent citrus trees, and I represent the Plex product that we've talked about today. So I'm going to continue on with the Plex at the moment, and then if you're interested, we'll continue on and I'll show you a little bit about pruning and use some important things that you might not know. I think Mark said earlier that I helped him a while back, and so we'll go with that route. But what Jim had said earlier, I've been saying and didn't know what I was saying in reference to that there would possibly be something that would help do what he said with the nano. And I've been taught to teach you guys that the graft is where your greening stops. So you've got a tree that has greening, all the nutrients stop here. So what he said is you can keep throwing fertilizer, the roots are going to be happy, but that's all that's going to be happy. There's nothing else up here that's going to help. So by using the Plex goes into the leaves. It looks similar to a T, and I use this little gizmo, but I'm not going to spray it. I think anybody can figure out how to spray, but you just lightly spray all the leaves, let it drip, and what happens is the technology that Jim was talking about is amazing in the sense that it does go inside the leaf, and they use the word phenomenon in my paperwork. It's in your paperwork, and I've sold chemicals for 20 plus years, and I've never used that word or had the opportunity to use that word. But the phenomenon is that it does get inside the tree, and it does create the tree to have the opportunity to ward off diseases, and if it's healthy, you won't have the insects that you are having issues with. So whatever money you put towards something like Atomic Grow or Plex, you're going to save on fungicides and insecticides. Again, you can't say it's an insecticide, but what you can say it is a healthy tree, and that's where we're going with. We use Plex in our nursery. There's a tag here. I won't put my head down with that on, but there's a tag that'll tell you when the tree has been treated, and it's treated every 6 months in our nursery. At the end of 6 months, then it needs to be treated again. Homeowners say, well, what happens when I take the tree home? There's two ways that I can explain it, and I kind of like my way better, is keeping the tree extremely healthy. And by doing that, I mean using a product like Atomic Grow, a product like Plex, and you've got a healthier opportunity that greening is not going to hit the tree as hard as it would if it's an unhealthy tree. So if you had ever had a knee injury, and you know arthritis is known to hit your knee quicker than any other part of your body because you injured that. And so that's the way I look at the citrus trees, is if they've had issues or gotten into a stress situation like a fertilizer, too much rain, not enough rain, then you're going to have a stressed tree. And what Plex does is prevent the stress and creates a healthier tree, therefore wards off things like greening. But that being said, I have some numbers or paperwork that I can show you guys, and what I might do is just pass it around and let you see. But they have done tests since '06, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and there are some pictures. Yeah, there's some pictures in here. But what happened with Plex for the homeowner is the owner of Rootstock Farms went to Plex and said the homeowner needs something. We are using it commercially, and the first picture has a tractor, and it's showing how they're fogging their groves. But these are endorsements from the doctors, as they say, a picture of the psyllid, if anybody wants to know what the little guy looks like. But here's all these graphs that if anybody's interested you can look at later on the yield. And what I mean by that is if the tree has greening, these are all been tested and showing greater yield. Look at that. amazing with a tree that's already got greening. That's not saying that's what you should have and you're really seeking out a tree that has greening, but absolutely. You take leaves like this and you can get this, just like what we were talking about. This tree is going to clean up very soon. Here's a real good example here, and again I'll pass the book around, but this is 6 months, and that might be beneficial to you guys, except we found out, Kathy, that they've got 20 and 30-year-old trees, right, if not older, and I don't know that I would throw much fertilizer to trees of that age. Usually 20 is about as far as it needs to go. I mean, if you can get fruit off of it, have at it, you know. But yeah, and they are. It's amazing. But back in the day, when people in their homes had the citrus tree, they called it, you know, that ugly tree in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do is teach people how to have a beautiful tree, and we're using them even in landscape. We're using them in pots. So there's a number of ways that I can get involved with on how to use trees even in the smallest of locations. I get embarrassed every time I show you. Here's my rose bush. If y'all can tell that's a rose bush, you will not believe it, but that is a rose bush. It grew like insane where it's located, so it loves it. That's a Bismarckia behind it. And the spring comes around and I see our tree, or bush, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to spray it. I just left Kathy, and I bought, or she gave me actually, a sample of the Atomic Grow to try. So we said we were going to mix it with the Plex. So I sprayed the tree, bush, I keep calling it a tree because it's over my head. And then about a week later, my husband mentioned that don't you think you should have trimmed it? Duh, yes. So I go out and I trim it. I cut it halfway down. Did not spray it again. And that was December 19th this picture was taken. And January 19th, that's from the growth. I've taken the tree, bush.
Winter too.
Yes, yes, exactly. I got that much growth, so I sprayed the tree again, took the picture, and it was around the 18th, 19th. And then this is exactly 2 sprays later, 3 months, and it's just amazing. So I kept going, Kathy, you won't believe this. You know, I was emailing her. I said, I'll get you the pictures. I swear I will. So it took me a little while to do it, and I fixed her up a catalog so she can show it. But that's a trim after I even sprayed, which obviously didn't matter because it got into the leaves and really did a nice number. So we became believers, absolutely. So this has been a pleasure today for me to be able to meet the other side. I told him we got married. He just didn't know it yet. So. But again, what happens with the greening is it stops right here. Plex will go right on in. Well, that's all well and good, but guess what? He just introduced you guys to a product that has got the capabilities of going past this, and nothing's been able to do that. So this is so exciting for me because it's enhancing the product that I'm selling. And again, you can see how we ship trees out, you know, so we know they're nice shape, bless your heart.
And that's been sprayed, that's a combination of Atomic Grow and Plex
right.
trees. Once it comes here, we spray it with the Atomic Grow to get all the poisons off of it. It's like I said before, most nurseries is poison.
Right. We have, I stopped what I was saying about the program, and we use a 6-month product. And you can buy it through, you know, different brands, but the company says that it doesn't kill bees, but if it says on the label it kills colonies of insects, then I don't know how you can overlook a bee. I'm not sure. So to take a chance like that, if you don't have to, I would really prefer that you just stay Atomic Grow, Plex, and copper fungicide is not a bad item to use every 3 months.
You don't need the Atomic Grow.
That's right, yeah, exactly. So that just eliminated part of my little spiel. So you've just saved some money there. What's it, about $12 a pint or something like that.
And long castings to boost all of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. This has been beneficial to me, you know, because I try to help people save money as well. You know, so it's real important from that end of it because none of this is inexpensive, and yes, you do have to use it frequently, but at the same time, anything worth its while has to have a little financial situation behind it. But at the same time, if you're saving money on a fungicide or an insecticide, then there you go. You've saved money on the end, on the back end of it. Now what I sell is a citrus spray and a homeowner, what I call a household spray, a home and garden spray. It does everything but citrus, and the reason I do that is because, or why we offer that, is the citrus has a stronger concentration, so you need it. That's been specially formulated for citrus.
The key Plex?
The orange. The orange one. Yeah, this one, right there. So then, to confuse you even worse, but we did this, but now again, I don't know that we need it because of the atomic grow, so I probably won't even talk about it anymore. But at the same time, it is an NPK, and it is a foliar fertilizer, so I guess so. But June 1st, you know, y'all know about the fertilizer ban. Well, that doesn't happen to you with a liquid. So a foliar spray is okay. There's a ban starting June 1st in most counties. I imagine Sarasota, they're pretty strict. So many people talk about this Leafminer, and it happens in the new flush and it's always in the heat and the moisture, but it is just nothing more than irritation. You know, you don't like to see it, but if you keep your tree trimmed and then spray, this will flush back out without this. So her new flush is coming out nice. So that's called Leafminer, and there's no product. There used to be a product called Lindane, and they took it off the market, banned it, and that's the only thing I ever know of that ever was good for that. But again, if it's just visual, it's kind of like, you know, not so bad. That's like canker. You know, all those poor people that lost all their trees and they cut everything down, and turns out canker is not hurting the tree or not hurting the fruit at all. And I mean, we had some really bad, sad stories where, you know, they planted the tree when they got married, and this was symbolic of my mother or my whatever, you know. So there's a lot of articles in the paper, and then it wound up not being such a bad thing. So when your fruit starts not giving you the satisfaction, then that's when it's time to go. But a tree will last an average of 20 years is what I usually like to tell people.
Yeah,
oh, that's true.
That's why they're saying 25 to 50 years at the most.
Yeah. Speaking of rootstock, we use 1 to 2, 3 different types, and we've tried and true, as they say. But if you've ever had a tree to die, and it comes back with the lawn thorns and real sour fruit, that's because it's frozen back and it's from the rootstock. And sour orange was created in Miami when the trees did die back years ago, and so the Spanish community, being the innovative people that they are, they took that sour orange and created delicious sauces and delicious marmalades, and they still call me today. We have 2, a Chinoto and Calamundan is considered a sour orange too. On the greening, we, believe this or not, we were the very last state in the world to get greening. Florida was the very last place, and they think it came in on Charlie, because it's airborne, and that's where they think, that's about the time they started seeing, you know, having visual of seeing that we were in trouble. But nobody so far, so the news that Jim has given us today is amazing, because no country has come up with any kind of cure. So we're going to be heroes. Speaking of being careful, because I know that they were making landscapers wear booties and things, but to go to our nursery, to walk in, and her husband can attest to that, but our guys have to wear suits. They're sprayed. If her husband wants to go in, if Charlie wants to go in and pick out his own fruit, they put him on a cart and he goes in through the aisle, and if he sees a tree down the way, he's not allowed to get out of the cart unless they spray him and put him in a suit. So if he wants to go through that process, they'll let him get out of the cart. But we go through 2 blow doors, and to blow off all the stuff off of us, and then there's 2 of those. And again, you can't put your foot down on the ground. So when a tree is delivered to Kathy's nursery, she can refuse any tree as long as she keeps it in the truck. But if it touches the ground, the government considers it contaminated. You're allowed 499 trees not to be under cover. So that's something, if you're growers, to keep in mind. If you build your nursery, you can't have, if you have 501, you've got to put up $4 million worth of plastic. So that's what we did. We have 58 plus acres under plastic. I'm going to just give a little quick overall on how to do a citrus tree. You never plant it any deeper than the dirt, so when that goes into the ground, you still see dirt, okay? They have microscopic roots that are surface roots, and fertilizer will burn. So if you'll read about any fertilizer granular-wise, it says to follow the drip line. That's to keep it away from the roots. If you use a pot, and I suggested that to somebody today, because we're the largest container-grown company in the country. I don't know, but what the world. We've got 95-plus gallon trees out. If you can imagine, that pot's bigger than us. But so we're all container-grown. But you have to use a slow-release fertilizer, which is a non-burning, if you're going to use it through the ground. But the spray through the leaves is the way to go. Then you don't have to worry if you've got any of it. But that's why if you hear the word drip line, that's what the reason is. But these fertilizers that we're talking about today are nutrients, won't burn anything that we're using. His worms. This is a real good tree to show you for pruning, because what I was explaining earlier, because I think this lady wants a compact situation. Trees are going to grow, period. If you put them in a pot, it does hold your growth. But what you do is you keep these things trimmed. And when we talk about the old ugly tree in the backyard, now we have a beautiful canopy tree in your front yard. You use it within your landscape. There's amazing ways of using the trees now. Think about it. You've got the blooms, you've got the fruit, you've got calamundins are gorgeous landscape material. But every time you cut a limb, and I think you can all see this, there's a cut right there. Can you see that? So that gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 limbs just because of that one cut. So now you cut these 5 limbs, guess what? You're going to get 5 times 5. So you got it thereabouts. You could get 3 to 6. We always throw a handful of fertilizer out. We treat them. They come to you nice and beautiful. I see this bite out of this limb right here, and that's not what this about to tell you about, but that reminded me. If you see leaves on a branch that's got the chew bites, follow the branch down and you'll most likely find swallowtail butterfly larvae.
Don't kill them.
And please don't kill them. But I've had customers that says, I don't want those things on my tree. Tell me what spray to use. But they love citrus. People will actually plant citrus just to get the butterflies. So they don't even care about the fruit, but they're a host. So if you do, they're so fun. They're just amazing to see, the larvae, and they've got little red horns, and then all of a sudden you see this swallowtail running around, and you go, oh, it's you feel like you're the mother to this butterfly, And as far as rats go, they're more of a myth than they are anything. The rats are after your garbage or dog food, or,
Rats are there.
They're going to be there anyway. So I've had them say, I can't have a tree because of rats, and they just have this visual. But speaking of can't have things, you can have now a citrus tree in your condominium. You can have it on a back porch. There's so many ways you can have a tree anywhere. I sold 2 college students. They were guys, and so they wanted the Persian lime for Corona beer. So they said, we're going to be so cool. We just pull that lime off, And they just have a little tiny patio, so that's what they wanted it for. So don't feel limited that you can't have a tree anywhere you want. As long as it gets some nice bright light, it's good. You can mix ours together. Tablespoon each, gallon of water.
Yeah.
And you,
Tablespoon each and gallon of water.
So now you've got it in a trigger sprayer or one of these.
And it doesn't.
So how much worm tea would you put in here?
How much would I put in there? I would probably put about
Quarter of a.
right about 8 ounces in there.
Okay, so 8 ounces
Yep.
of
Container.
tea.
How much would you put in a gallon?
I would
Actually, we
put
do 4, don't we?
probably 4 to a gallon.
Then I would take it and cut it by a third and put that amount into that.
Oh, okay, see, that makes it
1/3
different.
of a cup, or what? I missed that.
We normally do,
We do 4 ounces per gallon, but sometimes you want to make it a little bit stronger.
Mine's 4 ounces to a gallon, and it's not necessary to go stronger. And so I'm there early, and I'm spraying trees because they really look bad. And so I was spraying trees, and I used extra, been helpful. So the next morning I come in, and brown spots are on the leaves, and those trees were going to a big job site they had.
Oh boy.
And so I washed every leaf, standing right there with paper towels, and washed every leaf off. So mine's not more is better because it shows dark, and it will show a little speckled brown anyway, but it's okay.
Well, not only that, but this Atomic Grow is making the solution more effective, so you don't need as much.
Right. And more is never better. I mean, very rarely is better, you know, in my world. I did the same thing with Miracle Grow and burnt my azalea one time, just like Mark did. His, just burn it. Yeah.
Do you agree with this, Jim?
Yeah.
What we're saying?
Yes.
To cut it back?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you mix anything with a nanotechnology, you're going to multiply its benefits.
Yeah.
And fertilizer's not all the same. Plex is derivative of very good, very good base products, whereas, a common liquid soluble fertilizer like Miracle Grow is not derived from very good things. It may be derived from human waste for all we know. Who knows where they're getting that stuff, and it's mass produced. And so all fertilizers are not all the same. And that's why Plex is still on the market today after 20 plus years, is because the stuff is derived from, it's made from very, very, very good organic things that are, nature's best friends.
And so Sean's...
That's what we tend to do too. You kind of keep all the chemicals out of it and keep it 100% organic, because that's the difference between what we do and what the big guys do. And I think that's, and what's nice about it, these products is they can all work together.
Yes.
And you don't have any of these adverse effects of one with the other.
You know what? I'm 4 ounces to a gallon, so we need to do 2 ounces for me.
2 of this, 2 of this,
Mix it
whatever
together
it is
like
of
that.
And one, are you ounces or tablespoon?
We're ounces, but Kathy, for the homeowner, they relate to tablespoons and teaspoons a lot better.
And that's been working for us.
Okay, so 1 and 1 is
One and
okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I might
Do
just
that and
add,
see how it works.
one thing about worm castings is the beneficial microbial life around the root system is huge. And one of the things that chemicals do in pesticides and herbicides is they kill the microbial life around the soil. So the worm casings are really good because you're stimulating the mycorrhizal and the microbial life around the soil. And what that does is it enables these little microscopic insects that are in the soil that are beneficial and beneficial fungus. They break the soil down so the plant can absorb it. And if you don't have good microbial life around your plant soil, then your plant, you can have all the fertilizer you want, and the plant's not going to absorb it through the root system. Now you can bypass the soil by just spraying it with Atomic Grow and fertilizer, but eventually you're going to need microbial life around the root system in order for the root system to prosper, especially if you're in soil that isn't necessarily the best soil in the world, like sand.
Well, it's just like Jim was saying. You have to have a foundation. It's just like building a house. You have to have a good foundation in order to build the rest of your garden or the rest of your soil. And the thing about it is, a lot of the times we don't have a lot of nutrients like you find in other parts of the country. We only have maybe a dozen, because we're dealing with sand, not soil. And what a lot of this will do, it will bond with the actual silica in the sand, hold all this stuff in place so your plants can access it. So that's another good thing.
I just want to say, I'm imagining going home now, products. And so my question was, because I'm looking at spraying once, spraying twice, spraying 3 times, or mixing it all together and doing one spraying.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can do one spraying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There wouldn't be any problem. Just
She's doing one,
right proportion.
one,
I don't see a problem.
and 2.
I would put that around my soil, in my soil though.
Right, but I could do both too, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt
If
it.
I was going to do it, I would put the the soil,
Granular.
I would put my plant in that soil, or at least mix it
Right.
50-50,
Right.
and then I would spray with these products.
Okay.
I'm not saying that spraying with that isn't good. I just haven't done it yet. I don't know, and I'd like to do it first. But that right there is very, very good stuff.
Yes,
And if you put it around the root system, it's gonna.
I say this to all my new customers, it will speak for itself.
Yeah. Well, you get more yield,
Absolutely.
and yield is what you're getting money back for all the money you spent. So if I go home and I have a citrus tree and I want to get some fruit off of it, I need yield. I need product. If I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting any oranges, it doesn't amount to anything. So that right there will give you yield. These are all the food and groceries.
Do you need something?
Older orchards that possibly have been neglected for several years.
Orchards.
Well, there you go. There wasn't much in the soil to begin with, and now there's less. So yes, you've got to build your soil. His worm castings are the best. Also, if you can find a true good slow release fertilizer. But his worm castings are just put them. These could go on the roots, couldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
water it in.
Yeah.
Clean it out.
Yeah.
Put a good scattering in. Water it in nice and slow. Let it go in. And then the other treatments. And
I would just stay with the sprays. That way it's a clean break with everything, and just spray your leaves, and